Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, Zimbabweans go to the polls on Saturday to elect 28 legislators and 105 councillors to fill in posts that have been left vacant due to recalls as well as deaths of representatives since 2020. The parliamentary poll is being conducted in 8 out of the country's 10 provinces. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission says that all logistical arrangements are in place, and it has set up 1,317 polling stations for the parliamentary election across 8 provinces. However, the main opposition party, the SABC, or the Citizens Coalition for Change, has described the electoral field as uneven after it failed to campaign in some areas due to police bans of their rallies.
Campaigning wrapped up in Zimbabwe on Thursday, with opposition party Citizens for Coalition Change holding its final rally in Epworth in the capital city. The event had been cancelled after law enforcement banned the gathering, but a court ruling overturned the decision. Its youthful leader decried the unevenness of the playing field, blaming the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission of not being fair nor neutral.
We have seen what ZEC is doing. ZEC has proved that they are not ready to run a general election. Why? We see that they have not availed the voters' roll that is supposed to be availed. We see that they have not proved to pass the critical test that they are supposed to pass. The integrity test, the professionalism test, the accountability test, the constitutionality test, but more importantly, they have to pass this test of being non-partisan. ZEC must not be an extension of ZANU-PF, because ZANU-PF is a political party, an outgoing political party for that matter.
Chamisa went on to call for the disbanding of the Commission's leadership.
We have a right as citizens to demand that ZEC must be disbanded. Players have a right to say this referee can't continue to referee us.
The ZEC dismissed the allegations of being biased. It says it's ready to deliver credible elections this weekend.
With our people on the ground today, all the polling stations have already provided a facility for voters to go and inspect their names at different polling stations. We've trained everyone. Everything is on course. The logistics that are required, including the ballot paper, it has been given there. And also another key issue is we gave all contesting candidates and political parties voters' rolls after sitting of the nomination court in January, and we are happy with the progress as a commission. We've provided the vehicles that are required. We've trained the officers that are going to be conducting this. We've even trained the election agents, the observers. They're all aware of the electoral activities happening.
The electorate will be casting votes to fill the 13% vacancy in Parliament, with many analysts describing this by-election as a litmus test for next year's presidential ballot. It remains to be seen if the human and financial resources poured into the intensive campaigns by the ruling ZANU-PF and SABC will translate into the votes desired. Noma Polani, SABC News.
Well, to talk a little bit more about these by-elections in Zimbabwe, we're now joined by Dr Pedzisai Ruhanya, who is the director of Zimbabwe Democracy Institute, which is a public policy research think tank based in Harare. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Good to have you on the program again.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, so tomorrow is D-Day, and the run-up to these elections have seen quite a lot of things happening on different levels. So let's try and unpack some of that, but maybe let's start with the bigger question. Do you think that there will be a fair result?
The election is a process. It is not simply the voting day, but it encompasses the pre-election processes, which has to do with the voter registration, political campaigns, exercises of fundamental civil and political liberties, access to state or public media, such as the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, and the capacity of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, its fidelity to facilitate a fair free and credible process. So if you are to look at the ingredients of what constitutes a credible election, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission does not have fidelity to administer free and fair elections in Zimbabwe. In fact, the elections we are witnessing tomorrow can best be described under the menu of manipulation, what Andreas Sedgler, a scholar in democratic discourses, call the menu of manipulation, or elections without democracy and the menu of manipulation. But in the Zimbabwean context, it takes place in what I would describe as a securocratic state. A securocratic state in the sense that there has been a marked involvement of the security apparatus in the public and the electoral affairs of the state. From the 1985 elections, when ZAPU was the main opposition political party, to today, when we have the main political party or contestant as the Citizen for Coalition Change, CC. So ZEC has proved that it has no fidelity to run free and fair election on the basis that it organizes elections without democracy under a menu of manipulation. And the menu of manipulation in the sense that the ZEC has created uncertainty in the voter registration. ZEC has created uncertainty in the voters' roll itself. As we speak, as we go for elections tomorrow, major political parties, which includes CC, do not have the voters' roll. So how do you go to an examination where you don't even know how we are going to go about the process? So the CC is going to an election without the book of voters. But we know that ZANU-PF has it, that's why it is quiet. But what is more worrying in this election is the involvement of the security apparatus of the state. In fact, I would argue that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is captured by the security apparatus of the state, particularly two organs of the security apparatus, that is the military and the Central Intelligence Organization, or what they call the President's Office. Why do I say so? From 2000 until as we speak, the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has either been a soldier or a member from the Office of the President and the Cabinet. Number one, in 2005, it was Major General Nyikayaramba, now the late. Then thereafter, we had Sekere Mai from the President's Office. He is now late. After Sekere Mai, we had Ms. Chigwada from the President's Office, or CIO, who was the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet. After Chigwada, we now have Major Utoiles Laikwana, who was in the Army's Education Corps. So others would argue that they have a right to be there, but surely in a country with a population of more than 15 million, it cannot be the security apparatus only who has the right to be the CEOs of ZEC. But more worrying, the Secretariat of ZEC, in terms of what the chairperson Justice Gumba said, says 15% of the Secretariat of ZEC are soldiers or ex-soldiers. So what does that mean? Can soldiers actually defy the orders of the commander-in-chief? Suppose the commander-in-chief, who leads the political party in the name of President Mnangagwa, orders Major Slagbana to do something. Would you refuse to do that? So that is the infidelity of ZEC that we talk about, and this lack of capacity to run elections.
All right, so that's just the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. We spoke to Amnesty International earlier in the week, and they pointed to political violence and the actions of the authorities in terms of bans on political party rallies and also police violence even.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about the emergence of the securocratic state and detailing how the securocratic state exhibits itself in partisan ways in the manner in which elections in Zimbabwe take place. I think you witnessed the securocratic state at work in the 2008 elections, in which the army was working as the commissariat department of ZANU-PF. And those elections were not acceptable to SADC, were not acceptable to the AU, leading to the inclusive government. So what we are talking here about the securocratic state is not phantom, is not delusional. but there is evidence. And in fact, the authorities in Zimbabwe do not hide that. President Mnangagwa recently said that Zimbabwe is a military state. And his vice president in paper before the violence that resulted in the death of one person actually compared the opposition to lies, to say that they will crush the opposition like lies. That cannot be a statement from a vice president of a republic.
Do you think...
And the chairperson of ZANU, Muchinguri, was also on record saying that the country which was won through the gun cannot be taken through the pen. Do you see the kind of disrespect for the will of the people by the authorities that run the affairs of the state in ZANU?
Let's talk a little bit about the opposition. We have this new party, the Citizens Coalition for Change, and they wear yellow. It is former MDC Alliance people, by and large. Were they able, do you think, to get their message across that who they are, and that, yes, we may have changed our name, but we are the familiar people that you've supported all this time? Because there was a fear that you change your name, you form a new party, and that you don't have enough time to get your message across to the voters.
Yeah, what CC has done is to broaden the political and social base of the opposition in Zimbabwe. But there's nothing new, particularly about this party. This is the Tsvangirai party. That is the party that was left by Tsvangirai. That is the party left by Gibson Swanda and others. That Nelson Chamisa has taken a step further to reorganize the party, to bring new faces, to bring new people. But in terms of sending their messages, if you look at their rallies, you can think that it is a party that was formed in 1980. But this is a party that was formed in January. But this is the part of Tsvangirai that Chamisa has taken further to broaden it, to bring new faces. And if you look at the new party, it has a feminine approach. There are a lot of women, young women, professional women, working women, women in the informal sector. That was not the case during the Tsvangirai period. But another thing is that you see old people who are saying now we're in our 90s, we're in our 80s, but we want to live a prosperous Zimbabwe, and they think that the current system run by ZANU has no capacity to take Zimbabwe to a democratic dispensation or to facilitate a democratic breakthrough following the death of President Mugabe and after his removal by the military. So we have been repetition without change under ZANU. What they promised the people after the coup and what they are doing, they are even worse than Mugabe in terms of their tactics. Look at how the police ban rallies. Look at how we have police, bidding for the ruling party. What is new about what they are doing? So it's a repetition without change. It's a new deception rather than a new dispensation, as they claim. There's nothing new. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission says that they are happy with what is going. But it is not for the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to be happy. It is for us, the citizens. It is for the voters to be happy about the electoral process. You can't say that the voters are happy when you disrupt political parties' meetings, the police disrupt meetings of other political parties, and we have violence that is state organized, particularly by the security forces. If you look at what happened in Gokwe, where police with the water cannons, something that did not happen during the period of Mugabe, to take water cannons to rural areas to disrupt rally by the opposition. What we saw in Gokwe has no precedence in the history of Zimbabwe since 1980. Mugabe never sent the police with water cannons in rural areas to disrupt the rally, authoritarian as he was.
All right, so by inference, what you're saying is that the administration of President Mnangagwa, in fact, you know what, we probably have to have this chat after the election, so let's leave it there for the time being. Let's see what happens tomorrow, and let's catch up again soon after the elections to try and make sense of what may have happened. But for tonight, thanks so much indeed for your insights. Good talking to you again, Dr. Ruhanya.
You're welcome, but unfortunately, we are deteriorating into a police state, an outpost of tyranny under this regime, contrary to what people expected when Mugabe was removed.
All right, thank you so much indeed for your time. Right, that's Dr Pedzisai Ruhanya, who's director of the Zimbabwe Democracy Institute, a public policy research think tank based in Harare, and he's painting a pretty grim picture in terms of the state of democracy and these elections that are coming up.